Welcome, everyone, to Truro Town Council's public meeting for Monday, June 1st, 2026. Before we begin our agenda today, I, Kathy J. Henton, Mayor for the Town of Truro, acknowledge we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. We acknowledge the peace and friendship treaties and recognize we are all treaty people. We recognize African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched this part of Mi'kmaq, known as Nova Scotia, for over 400 years. We recognize the Acadians who lived in harmony with the Mi'kmaq, whose communities across the province are a living testament to the fortitude of their ancestors who survived the Grand Derangement. Today, as both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, we commit to seek harmonious and mutually beneficial relations. We give thanks to the elders and knowledge keepers. We're now going to proceed to our public agenda for today. This is the public council meeting for the town of Truro for Monday, June 1st, 2026. I do want to acknowledge those in the gallery today from the lemonade stand and to help raise awareness for accessibility awareness from May 31st to June the 6th. So welcome. We're so glad to have you. We've missed you, Michelle. And also, I want to also say this is June, so we're going to be celebrating Pride Month this month, with lots of events happening and the parade happening on Saturday, the 27th. Before we move forward, I want to extend our sympathies to Fire Chief Blois Curry on the loss of his mother. Chief Curry will not be joining us today, and also to Councillor Talbot on the loss of his brother-in-law. So both of them will not be with us, as well as Director Sims had a family situation, and she's not able to join us today. So we welcome everyone. And earlier today, Mr. Dolter, we raised the Filipino flag, didn't we?
We did, Madam Mayor, yes.
A wonderful turnout for that.
Great turnout.
All right. So, Mr. Dolter, are there any changes, omissions, deletions to the agenda today?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Seeing no changes to the agenda for June 1st, 2026 is approved. Item 2A on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the public council meeting on May the 4th, 2026. The minutes have been circulated. And council, you all had a chance to review them. If there are no changes identified, then I will say the minutes for the public council meeting of May 4, 2026 are approved. We're now moving on to item 3, which is petitions, delegations, and correspondence. Mr. Dolter, I see our first is item 3A, a letter to the Canadian Air Force, read the flyby, the Battle of Britain.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a letter that the mayor signed off. It was a request for a flyby on September 20th, 2026 at 1:15 p.m. Again, this is, we've done this in previous years, and again, this was just granting the town's authority to have that flyby. It's very typical of the Department of National Defense to ask permission prior to doing these events.
Thank you for that. Item 3B is citizen petition, the Havelock Street repairs, Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the town did receive a petition that was started by one of the local business people. It contains many signatures. I did not count them all. We just want to acknowledge that the petition was received, and I'm sure in his report, Mr. Browning will talk about the Havelock project to update council on that.
Councillor Graham, you have a question?
I'm just wondering, as part of the process or our policy, will there be a formal response from either yourself or the mayor to that petition?
Typically, we do not respond to petitions. We do accept them. I'd have to follow up on this. I think we do. Obviously, we know who originated the petition. Madam Mayor, we could respond back, but typically staff have been not in the practice of responding to petitions.
We have talked to some individuals up there, and some are fine with it. And one of the major.
And I do believe Mr. Browning's had a direct conversation with the originator of this petition as well, too, and it is a local business person. So I think the contact being made through further discussions there probably would be appropriate.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're moving on. Item 4 is under old business. Item 4A is request for decision, the Rotary grant request.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And full disclosure, I am a member of Rotary, so council's aware of that. So the town has received a letter from the Rotary Club of Truro requesting a grant for $5,000 to support their centennial celebration. Proceeds from the celebration will be used to continue their work in serving the community. And I think, Madam Mayor, you did acknowledge during Rotary Week the great work that Rotary does do. Now, this is here as a grant technically it's a sponsorship, but we don't have separate sponsorship money identified. So again, it would go under the grant budget. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is be resolved that council approve a $5,000 grant payable to the Rotary Club of Truro, and again, this is for their celebration, their 100-year celebration.
Thank you. So before we can have discussion, I'm going to need a mover. Councillor McGrath, a seconder. Councillor Fleming. And now I'm going to open it up to the floor for discussion. Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just noticed it says estimated cost $90,000. So this is not like $5,000 a year for the next. I know that's sure it's a typo.
No, that's this is just our portion of the contribution. So they're raising money from numerous sources on that. So no, that's just
It's
5,000 is just a one-time grant.
Yeah, it's right on our request for decision. Sorry.
I believe it's a typo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a typo. To be honest.
It's right on the left-hand side there,
Left-hand
estimated
side.
cost. It says,
Oh, geez. Okay. Yes, I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a typo. Shouldn't be. Yeah, that does not apply to this event.
great, thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, so the motion has been moved by Councillor McGrath. It has been seconded by Councillor Fleming. All those in favor of supporting the $5,000 one-time request for the Rotary, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Unanimously approved. Congratulations to the Rotary, who do excellent work. Item 4B is request for decision on wildlife feeding prohibition bylaw. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So council being asked to consider first reading of a new wildlife feeding prohibition bylaw. The proposed bylaw establishes regulations prohibiting the feeding of deer and other wild animals, as well as placing or leaving food or other attractants in a manner that may encourage wildlife activity within the town. As part of this update, council is also being asked to repeal the existing bylaw, which is B 130-005, feeding of wild birds and animals bylaw, and replace it with the wildlife feeding prohibition bylaw. Madam Mayor, the proposed bylaw is there, and it clearly does state, in case anybody's concerned, that feeding of birds, as long as it's done with the appropriate container to do so, is an exception to the bylaw, so that would not be prohibited, because there are a number of people in town that put out bird feeders. So as long as that's done properly and in compliance with the bylaw, that would not be an enforcement issue. So the proposed motion is, Madam Mayor, be it resolved that the wildlife feeding prohibition bylaw attached at Schedule A to this request for decision be approved for first reading.
Thank you. Looking for someone to move that? Okay, Deputy, and seconded by Councillor Pryor. Discussion. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I think it's important for people who do feed birds, there's a lot of people in town that feed birds, and it's good that they do this, is the exceptions. This is for feeding birds. I think the main thing of interest is that the bird feeder should be positioned 1.5 meters above the ground and located at least 2 meters away from shrubs, trees, or structures that allow easy access by wild animals. So I think that condition just helps people understand that it has to be off the ground, high enough so that the deer can't feed out of it, essentially.
And the squirrels.
And the squirrels. So, it's not restrictive at all. It's just a good management practice. So that's
Correct.
excellent. I just was wondering, Mr. Dolter, could you just, is there just a brief description of the difference between the one we're repealing and the one that we're passing?
Essentially, the one that's being repealed talked in general terms or grouped all wildlife, and this is specifically talking about the categories, I believe, also setting fine. Mr. Fox, again, I don't have the previous bylaw in front of me, so.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me either, but Charles,
Charles.
Town solicitor might know more about that than I do.
I can speak to that. The significant difference is that under the old bylaw, the existing bylaw, the test or the prohibition was on feeding wild animals in a place or in such a way that it could cause unreasonable interference with another person's use or enjoyment of their property. And that was causing some enforcement issues. This one is more a straight-up prohibition. You just simply can't do it, subject to the exception for feeding birds out of appropriate bird feeders, and vegetable and ornamental gardens, which can also attract wild animals, but doing that clearly shouldn't be a violation of the bylaw.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Has there been any change in the fines? And with inflation, if there's no change in the fines, is that something that we should consider inflating to keep up with, cost of living, et cetera?
The existing bylaw had a minimum fine of $50.
Okay,
The proposed fine in this bylaw, it's approved by council, would be $250.
okay,
And along with that, in a summary offense ticket situation, there's well over $100 added to the minimum fine for court costs and administrative costs and that sort of thing.
okay. Thank you for the information.
Thank you. Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank staff for their work on this file. This was something that I had brought up a little while ago, although to Mr. Dolter's point, good luck getting squirrels out of bird feeders. They are extremely, they are extremely clever animals. But I do want to say that I did look at the draft bylaw and I compared it to what is on the website for the existing bylaw. Certainly a lot more work has gone into this. It's a lot stricter, it's a lot more detailed, and again, I just want to thank staff for that, and I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. So this has been moved now by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Pryor. All those in favor of the motion presented, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, passed unanimously. Thank you, Council. Item 4C is a briefing note on traffic signal replacement project.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So again, this is a briefing note that I request the Director of Public Works put together just to inform council, because these projects, the two signals in question here, have been on the capital projects for a number of years now. And again, just to quickly go through, again, we're suggesting that this year is not the year to actually embark on these projects. So the background here is the existing traffic and pedestrian signal lights at the intersection of Queen Street and Walker Street, as well as the intersection of Queen Street and Lawrence Street, are still planned to be replaced. These new traffic and pedestrian signal lights at each intersection will have traffic sensors, incorporating them in to improve traffic movements through these intersections based on traffic volumes at any given time. Current circumstances we are in right now, department staff have continued to monitor the progress of the work by the province on the Walker Street, Main Street Bridge, as this project impacts our projects. Staff have been in regular contact with the area manager of the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, as well as their department's project engineer, and have been provided with updates on the progress of the project. At present, the province is advising that they expect the completion of the work on Walker Street and Main Street Bridge will extend into mid to late fall. So staff have assessed, based on that, the best way to proceed with the work in conjunction with the work by the province on the bridge, but have determined that it's necessary to postpone the project until next spring, once the work by the province on the Walker Street, Main Street Bridge is completed, excuse me, to avoid the extent of traffic congestion that would be caused from both projects being executed simultaneously. Work at the intersection of Queen Street and Walker Street would not be feasible at this time due to complications with managing traffic control due to the work by the province on the bridge. Work at the intersection of Queen and Lorne would result in the intersection being closed to traffic during most of the construction. This intersection is the primary detour route of traffic that would normally cross the Walker Street Main Street Bridge, but choose not to during the province's bridge work, and will only be the only signaled intersection. Closing this intersection will result in the traffic being rerouted to local residential, non-signal streets of Normandy Avenue and Park Street, which we feel is not feasible. So again, that's just to update council on that. One note that isn't in the briefing note, that right now there's a current budget within our capital budget of $573,000. That money would be expected to carry into the new fiscal year, and therefore would be secured for the project, so we get an early start in the spring and hopefully have the work done prior to summer when they be heavy traffic use. So again, just want to advise council on that. If there's any concerns, I can certainly address those, or Mr. Browning can address any concerns council may have as a result of this briefing note.
Thank you very much for that. Item 5 on our agenda is the in-camera summary reports. After each report, council may ask questions, and then I'll ask for a motion at the end of all reports to approve them. Our first one is from Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So under leadership and governance, trust and transparency, Mayors and Chief breakfast took place on May 19th. The three mayors of Truro, Colchester, and Stewiacke, and Millbrook for Chief Globe participated in annual Chamber of Commerce Mayors and Chiefs breakfast. The format consisted of participants answering questions that had been submitted to them prior to the event. Most of the members of council were in attendance. The questions focused on economic challenges with recent provincial cuts, event tourism, housing, the Rath Leasing Centre, and municipal infrastructure. There was a chance to discuss public transportation and the role council plays in navigating the next steps. The open question portion of the event focused largely on the REC and the NSPE situation. There continues to be a great deal of misinformation around the decisions that have been made, and unfortunately, through events like this and the complexity of the topic, it really is difficult to provide further clarification, although both mayors, Mayor Hinton and Mayor Blair, attempted to do that, but again, difficult for them to do that in. Under operational efficiencies, purchasing policy and procedures review, our consultants completed the interviews with department heads and staff involved in procurement and administration of the procurement policy. The consultant will now provide recommendations guided by departmental feedback and Provincial Government Procurement Act and administrative best practices to revise our current policy and develop a procedures document. The new procedures will help to clarify responsibilities, spending authorities, and approval requirements for purchasing. When completed, the overall procurement process should be more efficient. And of course, once we have that in place, it will come to council for review and approval. The Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators Conference, which took place from May 24th to 27th. I attended the CAMA conference in Whistler, BC last week. Conference covered a wide range of topics, including AI, mental health, leadership, incivility, and the impact local government was having in Canada. As has been my experience, one of the main benefits of the conference is the opportunity to network with colleagues from across Canada and talk about what they're doing, get great ideas, and let them know what we're doing as well. So again, it was a beneficial week in Whistler, and again, I think there's some things that I'll be discussing with staff in the next few weeks on what came out of the conference. Under sustainable environment, adaptation, and resilience, Department of Emergency Management, otherwise known as DEM, CAO's roundtable took place on May 19th. DEM held another roundtable of meetings with CAOs from across the province on May 19th. The sessions provide regular updates and an opportunity for input on numerous changes occurring as the provincial department continues to evolve since becoming a separate department. The sessions included updates from Nova Scotia Power on communication improvements, various operational updates, a discussion on professional development for emergency management coordinators, the Vulnerable Persons Registry, the Emergency Management Bylaw process for municipalities, and the Fire Services update and next steps. The province will operate a 24/7 provincial command center going forward to ensure that it has the capability to respond and support emergency disaster management, which should be beneficial to all municipalities. There are some concerns from the CAOs about the financial and operational pressures that some of these changes could place on municipalities. Staff for our Emergency Operations Center will have to be trained to a higher level with potentially more exercises coming into the future. And again, we'll be talking at the local level to the REMO to talk about those changes and how they're going to impact us locally. Under reduction and mitigation, we have the draft report on the refit for 15 Yonge Street. The consultants for the retrofit study provide an overview of the draft report for the building. As expected, there are many challenges with improving the overall energy efficiency of this historic building. The presentation provided a good cost-benefit analysis on the different refit options. One of the major challenges we face going forward is the continued degradation of the brick exterior. One of the suggestions for the retrofit was to insulate the exterior of the building, which would also help with the brick degradation. However, with the historic designation, changing the exterior is not recommended, and I don't believe, based on what Mr. Fox has said, permitted as well, because it is a historically designated building. So again, that becomes a bit of a conundrum for us. Staff will be discussing options with the consultant, and will be bringing a presentation and a report back to council on this issue. Under community wellness, safety and resiliency, the expansion of the REMO with the municipality of East Hants, we had a meeting on May 6th. Staff from the towns of Truro and Stewiacke and municipality of the county of Colchester met with officials from municipality of East Hants to discuss details of the East Hants becoming part of the Colchester REMO. During the meeting, we reviewed how the current REMO and Emergency Operations Center functions and the staff roles that we are using for the different events. Discussion focused on what the new REMO model would look like, what needs to be in the new agreement, and what changes would be required to the current bylaws. East Hants will be drafting an MOU for review by the respective councils to establish the basis for the new structure. And again, we expect that in the next few weeks. Under affordable communities, supporting housing and homelessness. Several CIOs have been contacted by the Deputy Minister of the Department of Opportunities and Social Development for an engagement session related to housing and homelessness. There seems to be a willingness to recognize the significant challenges we face and the additional pressures placed on our communities. The meeting is currently scheduled to focus on the current challenges related to supportive housing and homelessness in our communities, opportunities to advance supportive housing supply and system coordination, identifying areas where provincial and municipal collaboration could have the greatest impact, and an update on the province regarding its investments, as well as the supportive housing and homelessness policy framework that's in development. We have a number of local concerns that have been forwarded for inclusion in the agenda, and the meeting has now been scheduled. It's going to take place on the 25th of June. Again, they have it scheduled for an hour and a half, and I don't believe that will be sufficient time to have this discussion, but I guess we'll find out. We'll find out if it works, and if there'll be subsequent meetings. But I do offer, Madam Mayor, that this discussion that we've had on affordability framework, I think this may drive some of that information and may provide us some insight. I certainly will bring up the issue of a locally funded or provincially funded navigators to help assist us through some of this process for sure. Again, so that's, you just bring that back to, I know both Councillors McGrath and Fleming were asking about that, so again, that's, I'll have more information to follow on that. With respect to strategic initiatives, again, with respect to public transportation, the regional transportation study is being completed and has presented to both the town and county councils. An RFD related to the next steps will be presented at today's meeting. Fleet electrification study. So staff are working with East Point Engineering on the phase 2 of this study. At this point, staff have received the draft phasing plan. Staff in East Point met in May, and staff provided feedback on the phasing and design in order for the consultant to complete the final phase 2 report. It's expected that report will be completed in June, July, and then we'll schedule presentation to council on that. Again, the Recover initiative is covered here, and I think I've just covered that. Again, will be challenges moving forward with the project, but again, will be brief for council. Climate risk and resiliency plan. Staff received a draft What We Heard report in late May that summarized the results of the public engagement. Staff are currently reviewing this report. Next steps will include a second staff and council workshop. The consultant is targeting June for this meeting, and staff and council will be advised once more information is available. On the Community Wildlife Protection Plan, town has retained B&T Wildlife Technologies to assist with the creation of this plan. B&T Wildlife Technologies visited Truro in mid-May to consult site visits and stakeholder engagement interviews to help assess the community preparedness for wildlife and identify high-risk vulnerable areas for planning. A public survey is now open for residents to provide feedback on the plan, and a link to the survey is available on the town's website and social media. Strongly encourage people to provide input on that, as it's going to be key to policy going forward. EDIA initiatives. So as you said at the beginning of the meeting, Madam Mayor, Access Awareness Week in Nova Scotia, and the theme is Making Room, Conversations on Accessibility. Staff have developed a session for the public called Making Rooms and Conversations for the Accessibility Plan for June 4th, 2026, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Bible Hill Village Hall during Access Awareness Week. This session will include community panel and will create space for people to share their experience with accessibility and for others to listen and learn. It will include a moderated discussion and Q&A session, questions collected in advance, and will be live streamed. The event is currently being promoted. Pride Month. So staff are working with the Truro Pride to develop a public session called Truro Pride Evening of Stories and Reflection, planned for June 23rd, 2026. This event will recognize 10 years of Truro Pride through an evening of storytelling reflection, including key partners who've helped shape Pride locally. The event will focus on creating a respectful and welcoming space for connection, and more details on this event will be released soon. And finally, communications projects. One I'd like to highlight is the Rally Against Racism. So town staff participated in the Rally Against Racism, including promoting the event on the town's social media. A number of staff also attended the event or rally in front of the town hall to show support for the students as they paraded by, which I hopefully was well received by those involved. There is a list of additional social media and communication projects in the reports, which hopefully council can take note of. And the funding program overview is provided as well. There's still two pending projects that we're seeking funding for. And again, that's for council's review. If there's any questions on that, they can certainly be answered. That is my report, Madam Mayor, respectfully submitted.
Thank you, and I'll take questions, and then we're going to swing back because I have missed item 5A, which is in camera. And so anyway, first up is Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to point out the in-camera summary report that we sort of glossed over, and wanted to thank you, Mr. Dolter, for your report, and especially on the update regarding affordable housing and the meeting that is going to be happening with the province. I'm really hoping that we can get some important information there regarding our coordinator and moving forward on having an enforceable affordable housing framework. I did want to ask one question. I don't know if somebody was messing with your report. It's a community wildfire protection plan, I believe, not a wildlife.
It's probably the way, I don't, okay. I was talking about that.
I just wanted to be clear.
That just stuck in my head. Yeah, it's probably, okay. It is wildfire?
Wildfire.
Not wildlife, yes.
Perfect, thank you. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. I was just wondering if somebody was playing a gag on your report there.
It's my age and something stuck in my head to just say it out loud. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. So really the only thing I wanted to follow up on is the library pigeons. I haven't heard anything about the pigeons for a while. Do we have any update from the province on that, on addressing pigeons?
Still ongoing. We are looking at a solution that we are going to put in place. I need an update on where we are. We're going to procure the items that were identified that were a humane way of just shooing the pigeons away. And I will have to get an update on that. We're in the process of procuring it, and we have to get a lift in place to actually put these where they need to be on the library.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Dolder, I wanted to mention the former Tourist Bureau on Commercial Street. Can we have an update on that? I'd love to see that
Yeah.
opened again.
So
Important.
I believe council's aware that we condemned the building, or we said that it was no longer habitable. I question whether or not that was in fact true. I did ask our facilities manager and one of our building inspectors to go and inspect the building. They reported back that, yes, there is some work to be done, but the building itself is not in that severe a condition as we originally suspected. So we will be looking at, not this year, but we're going to look at work that needs to be done, look at a list of work that needs to be done, and getting a cost estimate on that. And one of the key pieces is making it accessible as far as the washrooms go right now, because the public washroom is actually in the basement. So that's one of the key renovations that would be required, is to actually have a public washroom upstairs that meets accessibility requirements. And then we'll provide a report back to council and obviously look at a budget amount to be able to do the work. Again, once we have that assessment in place. But I do think there's a good chance that we can salvage the building and put it to a new purpose, whether it be a tourist, and likely it would be back to a tourist facility and then whatever other function we choose to put it to.
And I think it's important to have that key component to get people off the highway to the town for businesses. And as you know, I've been talking in length with the Chamber of Commerce about this, Chelsea and Lexi, and we'll be having a meeting soon, and I know you want to be in on that. So
Yeah.
we can certainly discuss that with them, because I think
Yeah.
it's well worth pursuing. Councillor Graham?
Last month, Mr. Dolter, your report included a separate category to report to us on the rec board and the NSPE grounds. I didn't see it in your report this month. I was wondering if there are any updates that you can provide us with.
Nothing, no, the reason it's not there is there was nothing of significance other than there was a board meeting during the month, but there's nothing significant to come back to council with.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Dolter, my question has to do with the Recover Initiative in the Truro's Farm Market or Market Hall. I was just wondering, is that inquiry taking a look at the structural soundness of the building? You talked about the exterior,
Right now, the review itself looked at the upgrading as far as the energy efficiency of the building goes and ways around that. One of the things we're likely to come back with after further discussion is looking at the soundness of the building itself and looking at some of those options. Obviously, we've already talked to council about the hose tower and how that has some concerns with that. But I think we have to look at the overall condition of the building. It is a concern that we're in a bit of a catch-22. The brick itself, interesting enough, has to be heated in order to dry out or it starts to crumble. So if we make the inside of the building very energy efficient and there's no heat coming or heat loss or less, the building will degrade faster.
Okay.
So again, we're in a bit of like I said, it's a bit of a catch-22. So yes, we are looking at more of a condition assessment of the building overall. The Recover Initiative looked at how to make it more energy efficient, but again, I think we have to do more of a condition assessment of the actual structure itself.
Right. Yeah, because I'm really interested in the second floor, the potential of the second floor for business use or community use, and also just access to the second floor, because right now the stairwell it's not great. It's usable, but it's certainly not accessible in any way. And as we know, lifts are very expensive. So anyway, if we're going to put money into the building, it's nice to know, what the total cost will be, not just to improving energy efficiency, but it has to be usable too. And there's vendors outside right now during Farmer Market Day on Saturday, and some of those might want to come inside. I don't know. There seems to be enough space right now downstairs, but I don't know. But the upstairs, I think, has potential, and it would be nice to know what that potential is.
Yeah, and again, we have to assess it overall to make sure we're making a wise investment, depending on the condition of the building.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy. We're now going to go to item 5A, in camera, Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as far as in-camera summary, council did meet on the 21st of May. There was 2 items that were discussed. One of the issue, there was a land issue that was discussed. The other was a legal issue that we reviewed.
Thank you. Our second report is Corporate Services. Director Tara Russell will now give her report. Ms. Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the Corporate Services Report for May. The attached financial statements provide an overview of the financial position of the Town of Truro operations to the end of April 2026. As of the end of April, total revenue is $17.6 million, or 40.5% of the annual budget. In April, the property taxes were billed for the first 6 months of the year. As of the end of April, total expenses amount to $3.7 million, representing 8.6% of the annual budget. I believe my report says 9.6. That was a typo. The attached financial report includes commentary on both revenue and expenses to explain variances relative to budget. Overall, the results were within expectations. The capital budget is also attached. We spent $107,000, or 1.2% of the $8.8 million adjusted budget. Has been spent as of the end of April. The town's procurement officer has been busy working with all the departments to get tenders out and awarded for a number of the projects on that list. I believe Mr. Dolter already went through the procurement policy updates, so I'll just skip over that. We are getting ready for the annual audit to begin in June and are working through our year-end processes. These are more robust than what we perform during the year and take a significant amount of staff time to produce. And we have two students joining us for the summer within Corporate Services. Abinor Kalia joins us at the front desk of our finance department. Abinor just finished his first year at Acadia University's business program. And Joe Raffi joins us from the Nova Scotia Community College, where he's pursuing his IT systems management and security diploma. Joe is working with our IT department this summer. One last item I wanted to acknowledge, particularly as there may be some interested parties present. We recently discovered that a grant application from the Lemonade Stand Society was inadvertently missed in our annual process, as it had been filtered into our junk folders. I wanted to confirm that the application has now been received, and staff are going to be bringing forward a request for decision to council in July, at the July meeting. As part of this, we've also reviewed our internal processes and will be directing all future grant applications to a dedicated email address that is regularly monitored to help prevent from this occurring again. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Director. I just want to say I've always been impressed with the caliber of the summer students that we get, and Joe and Avanar are certainly are wonderful additions for our staff for the summer. So, and we're so glad to have them with us. Is there any questions for Director Russell? Okay, I don't see any, so we're going to move on to our next report, which is not going to happen today. As we know, Chief Curry is not with us, so there's no fire services report. So we'll move on to Mr. Fox, who's going to do our planning and development report for us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is the planning report for May 2026. So in terms of planning projects, update of the town subdivision bylaw is still ongoing. The draft has been complete, and we do plan on presenting that to Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We were hoping to present it in May, but the agenda was too long, so it's been bumped to June, but we do plan on proceeding later this month. Planning applications, we have 5 development agreement applications on file, one at 656 Yonge, one at 149 Callback Street, one at 448 Lower Truro Road, Wind Road, Salter Avenue, one at 423 Roby Street, and one at 7 Alice. We have 7 site plan approval applications, one at 161 McLean, one at 9 McLean, one at 11 McLean, one at 43 Willow, one at 827 Prince Street, one at 108 Curtis, and one at 318 Brunswick Street. In terms of building statistics for the month of May 2025, we are at $6,166,916. For May 2026, we are at $5,715,303. By law enforcement, active properties or active files in the month of May 2026, there was 41 of those, and 22 have been resolved. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you. Councillor Graham, a question?
Just a question on clarity, Mr. Fox. At our most recent PAC meeting, there was a recommendation that was voted in the negative to council about a particular development. On the part of the public, I was wondering if you could go through that process. as to what that negative vote means as far as when it comes to council. Maybe if you could just walk us through it. There were some members of the public who thought that that was the conclusion of the development application process, and I've done my best to get the word out that we still have another 2 steps to go, but maybe it would be helpful if you could just go through that.
Sure, probably more helpful if I had to get a little advance notice. I could have prepared a bit of a presentation to walk through the process, but basically, it's not a negative recommendation either. It was a motion to approve, was a tied vote, which means the motion died. So it's a tied vote, but yes, the motion is defeated, not a negative motion. The process is such that the Planning Advisory Committee is an advisory body of council. So they have their own process. They review planning applications. They have 3 meetings to do that typically. And then by the end of the 3rd meeting, they make a recommendation to council. In this case, there is no motion in favor of or no motion supporting it, but that doesn't mean that council still doesn't have a public hearing. Council typically always holds a public hearing on a development application where they consider input from the public, presentations from the developer, a staff presentation, and a recommendation from the Planning Advisory Committee or the Heritage Advisory Committee if the case may warrant. So council still has to do doesn't have to. Council could decide not to hold a public hearing. It would be unusual for council to do so. They usually like to give applications their sort of day in court, and perhaps the solicitor can speak to that a little bit more, but that's been our standard practice, is to always proceed to a public hearing regardless of what the application is from the Planning Committee.
Thank you, and I do apologize for putting you on the spot there. You've been in the job a long time. I didn't think it would be too much of a challenge, which it wasn't. Thank you for your input. I wonder if our solicitor could give us a little bit of information about what it means when a recommendation does die on the docket, or however that the terminology goes.
I can't add a lot to what Mr. Fox said, but a developer who applies for a development agreement goes through the process at PAC. The recommendation from PAC is something that council can and does take into account when the file comes before council, public hearing followed by council's consideration. But yeah, PAC is just an advisory committee. They have no final decision-making abilities. And an applicant for a development agreement is entitled to have that process followed through and to have the public hearing and to have council make the ultimate decision.
So in this case, there will be no recommendation come forward. Is that my understanding? No recommendation either way. Is that?
There'll be a recommendation saying that there'll be a letter from PAC, the Planning Advisory Committee, to council saying that the motion was defeated or didn't pass. So not really a recommendation, I guess.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Our next report is from Police Chief Dave McNeil for the police report. Chief?
Thanks, Mayor Hinton. The report for May, as of May 25th, is as follows. We had 11 traffic collisions. We issued 130 summary offense tickets under the Motor Vehicle Act, conducted 20 road safety check stops, responded to 7 noise or animal or bylaw type complaints, 3 impaired driving investigations, 6 investigations under the Controlled Drug and Substance Act, 96 other provincial acts such as Liquor Control Act or Trespass Act, 67 mental health and well-being calls, 30 charges for violating court undertakings or court orders, 14 crimes against the persons, 11 assaults, 28 reports of thefts. There was 8 property damage or disturbance calls, 1 break and enter, 5 frauds or forgeries, 81 suspicious person or vehicle calls, 19 alarms, and 103 other calls for general assistance, for a total of 640 calls for service. 148 resulted in charges. There were a total of 7 parking tickets issued for the month and 38 speeding offenses respectively submitted.
Thank you, Chief. I don't see any questions for you. So we're going to move on to our Public Works Director, Oliver Browning. Your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. trust each of you had the opportunity to read my monthly council report for the month of May. At this point in time, I will provide the monthly highlights. Department staff completed detailed design and tendering of the town's 2026 street recapitalization road preservation tax funding projects. Wheelcare Paving and Contracting Limited was the lowest compliant bidder on the 2026 asphalt paving tender, and Basin Contracting Limited was the lowest compliant bidder on the 2026 asphalt milling tender. Both were under approved budgets for this work, and the contracts have been awarded. As a result, department staff will be reviewing the street priority lists and selecting additional streets for recapitalization this year, since this work is indeed under budget and we have room to do so. A construction kickoff meeting was held with the contractors for coordination on May the 28th. Tenders closed for the recapitalization of Argus Drive on May 14th, resulting in Dexter Construction Company Limited being the lowest compliant bidder in the amount of $115,000 plus HST. This bid price includes a $15,000 contingency allowance for unforeseen work. Work has commenced actually this morning, and the contractual date of substantial performance of contract is set for June the 18th. Construction tenders closed for the recapitalization of Havelock Street on May 21st, resulting in Dexter Construction Company Limited being the lowest compliant bidder in the amount of $267,135 HST extra. This price includes a $35,000 contingency allowance to cover any unknown and unforeseeable work that may arise. Department staff are working to schedule a construction kickoff meeting with the contractor later this week. Notification to update local businesses about this project will be issued following this kickoff meeting. Dexter Construction Company Limited will begin placement of asphalt in early June on Cobequid Drive, weather permitting. Substantial performance of contract will be deemed to have been achieved once asphalt placement is completed. Finished landscaping and any deficiencies identified would be the only work items remaining to be completed. Department staff continue to progress data acquisition and verification of the overall sanitary sewer system here in town. Data related to age, material, and size have been compiled in the department's GIS model. Department staff began assessment of condition, probability of failure, and consequence of failure this past month. Staff began executing our asphalt street patching program in April. The program began with repairing of utility cuts and proceeded onto arterial streets, collector streets, and local streets. 176 ton of asphalt patching has been placed during the months of April and May to date. There were 3 working days lost to weather, 1 day lost to a holiday, and 1 working day lost due to training during the month of May. Condition rating assessments and subsequent risk and priority rankings of the town's street network will be updated this summer and fall once the asphalt street patching program is complete. This updated information will be used for capital planning for the 26-27 fiscal year. Fortunately, the town did not experience any water main breaks or service leaks during the month of May. Department staff have been servicing and replacing water main line valves on Brunswick Street and McLean Street this past month. The department, together with the Department of Corporate Services, continued moving forward with the water rate study project to review our water rates to determine the extent of rate changes necessary. The staff project team met last week to define roles and responsibilities for this project. I would also like to note, it's not in my report, but I just want to point out that our department began our spring hydrant flushing program the last couple of weeks, and we'll continue to progress that for the next 2. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Director. And I see I've got questions. Councillor McGrath, you're up first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Browning, for your report. I'd like to invite you to expand a little bit more on the Havelock Street construction. We did talk about this last year, so this may be some repetition, but in light of the fact that we received the petition from businesses, I think it's worthwhile to repeat on part of why pushing it into the fall is not a recommended strategy.
Long and the short of it is unpredictable weather. If we end up, I mean, everything was fine last summer where everything was dry, at least for construction. smooth sailing. If we get the opposite this year, then we'd be up against it and essentially trying to complete this project. So we're essentially going and executing it during the most prime time of the season to be able to go and actually do the construction that we need to do.
All right, and we've also got the issues that if we push it into the fall, we get into hurricane season that could cause us some
Yes.
issues. We also run the risk of we don't know what's under the street and
Yes.
that there may be delays based on what we find, and the dangers of what happens if this is not completed as we move into winter and we're unable to do it. Does the street remain closed? Does it remain in a partial state and then cause more issues than what it is now?
Correct, yes.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pryor?
Thank you. Mr. Browning, I have a few questions for you. Number one, do you have a timeline on pothole filling?
Coming into the season after the other side of winter, we were essentially anticipating it would take every bit of June to complete what Mother Nature left us behind through winter time. We're just continuing to progress as best we can with this. I don't believe that it's going to be completed any sooner. That's the best I can say at this point in time.
And can you tell me who's responsible to look after Abenaki Road, the potholes there?
This is a provincial road, so it'd be the province.
Thank you.
We have, just to expand a little bit, we have, in the past, and recent past, in fact, or whatever, as a courtesy to largely Millbrook, asphalt patched this street for the province, on behalf of the province, where the province wasn't doing it. But that does certainly not mean, that doesn't mean that we take ownership of it. It's still the province's street, and it's not our responsibility to put capital funding into their street.
Because if you see the pictures on social media, people think that it's our responsibility, so I just thought I'd bring that up and clarify it.
Oh, I can certainly appreciate that, because we get the similar phone calls ourselves, and so.
And in your notes, I was reading about an assessment management plan for sidewalk and curbs network. It didn't really have a time, but seeing where there's sidewalks should be accessible, maybe, do you have a timeline for that?
Well, essentially, what we're doing as far as sequence goes, we're tackling, as I mentioned here, the sanitary sewer system, trying to get an asset management plan together for it. We've only been able to go and put time to it as time is available. We'd certainly love to put more time to it to be able to go and hasten the process along or whatever. The next system is the storm sewer system, for which we're compiling at this time, and that will follow sanitary sewer. Once those two are complete, then we're going to tune our attention to our sidewalk network and our curbing network around the town. It's set forth this year with the hope that we would have all these compiled and completed by the end of the calendar year. It's been taking a little longer than what we really wanted it to. That's the best I guess I can say at this point in time. But
So within a year?
hope so.
Okay. And one other thing, I had a call from a longtime businessman on Brunswick Street who reached out to me about the bike lane, and he can't understand why there is a bike lane on that small section, because with his business, he can't have people parking to come into his business.
Right. I mean, technically speaking, vehicles aren't allowed to park within a bike lane. If it's a delivery to a business, that's a little bit different. It's not technically, the vehicle's not parked, it's still being tended to. The latter part of last year, I believe, there was comment and complaints received, which resulted in us putting no parking signs along that stretch there where the bike lane does exist. As far as why the bike lane, personally, I don't know. It was before my time with the town. In fact, even discussing this morning or with staff in the department, no one's really clear as to what kind of the primary purpose and intent was of that stretch. Because as you're aware, it starts from essentially Park Road and then terminates at Yonge Street and goes no further.
I can shed some light on it if you want.
Okay, could I send them on, like pass them on to you so you could explain it to them?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I wasn't responsible for it, but I definitely know why it was put there. Back when they had the first go-around of this active transportation committee, they looked at linking it to that Cobequid Trail, the trail by the railway, and that was from Charles Street over to get you to the park. So that was the only place they could put some sort of a shared bike lane. So it's not a full bike lane, it's a shared bike lane. So it's kind of just a safe white line for people to ride their bikes from Charles Street to the park. And that's about the only explanation I have for it.
So is he still allowed to have his customers park there to come in to pick something up? Or?
If it's a delivery, if you're getting supplies, I like in the example of, a restaurant receiving their deliveries of food, that's acceptable because it's just basically temporary, the typically vehicle's still running, people are tending to it. If it's a scenario where a customer is leaving the vehicle, parking, and actually going in, at this point in time, it's not prohibited.
Because he has
allowed.
there's nowhere else to park,
Right.
so.
I guess, is this something that perhaps we look at making change to that street? I don't know. I mean, right at this point in time, merely just to be technical, I mean, we have, at this present time, we have the bike lanes. The bike lanes are there technically, so therefore, parking is not allowed. Hence the no parking signs we put up. As I see it, and Chief McNeil, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I guess if we want to allow and permit street side parking, and I can certainly appreciate the need with some of these businesses, it would strike me that we'd probably need to remove the bike lanes.
But if I sent him to speak to you, you can
Oh, by all means.
explain it to him?
Yeah, by all means.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. The one is, the first is the street recapitalization network or program. Condition ratings are going to be done following pothole, et cetera.
Yep.
And so these assessments involve risk and priority ratings.
Yes.
And I'm familiar with that, but could you tell me when does something go on the list for work to be done? In other words, what is a risk? Can you just explain that? How does it move from not on the present list, or maybe 3 or 4 years, or even next year, to this year? Mm-hmm. How is that? I'm just interested in the ranking process.
Sure.
And understanding that risk assessment.
Sure. If you recall, I believe it was a year ago, I put forward a presentation to council, I think a committee of the whole or whatever, of how our street prioritization and assessment system works. And so essentially, we have a ranking system as far as coming up with a priority score, which includes obviously physical condition itself.
Right.
And that value carries the highest weight. But there's also other considerations that we take into account, which include the type or classification of the street, whether it's an arterial street, a collector street, or a local street.
Right.
We also take into account what we refer to as population density, which is essentially a measure of number of units per kilometer on a street.
Right.
With the premise being that a more highly populated street is going to be seeing more traffic, therefore more wear and tear, than a lower populated street.
Right.
And therefore, that should be into consideration. And so as far as coming up with our priority ranking, it's those 3 weighted scores that get us a score essentially out of 35.
Right.
And from those scores is how the ranking works. So then once we have established that, and usually our intent is to sort of reassess every no more than 5 years, simply because if we continue to assess every single year, it certainly takes time, and second, or whatever, the list just continues to keep moving.
Right.
So in order to go and be able to have a fighting chance of putting a solid 5-year capital plan together. We keep it sort of fixed to at most a 5-year reassessment, and this is what we're up to this year, is approximately 5 years since they have been assessed. And so when it comes to the decision point of what streets do we do in a given year, we take a look at our priority rankings, we take a look at what we have for money available, and we go and do opinions of cost on some of the higher or lower rated streets, depending on your perspective. And essentially, it's just selecting streets that fit within what we have afforded for in the budget for the given year of the lowest rated streets.
Yeah, thank you. You eventually got to what I was getting to. And that
I
was
wasn't
money.
sure.
And that was money.
Right,
Because,
right.
you know, in the end, the budget is only so big.
That's right.
And I was going to ask you, if we doubled the budget,
Mm-hmm.
you could do more streets. Is that not correct?
I-
Or when does time come into it?
Well, there's another thing of capacity, right? There's another thing of capacity. If we double the budget, and I can't say if we double the budget, we couldn't double the amount of streets. I can't say that right now. We'd have to look at what the volume of work would be involved to do so on our end. But there does come a point where you could triple and quadruple budgets, and under current capacity of staff, just can't get there
Right.
from here.
It's an interesting question for me. And the reason is, you know, I was going down Park Street yesterday. It's not on the list, and maybe it'll make the list after the potholes are all done and a reassessment is done. But the end that's closest to Queen Street, it's a mess.
Yes.
It's a real mess. And to me, as I travel on it, I think, okay, you could patch all this, but, you know, it's just only going to be worse next year. It really,
I agree.
it needs to be done. And yet it's not on the list. We'll see what happens, but it's that kind of thing that I'm thinking, well, then, if it needs to be done, but it's not on the list, and it's going to be next year, and it really should be this year, well, maybe our budget's not big enough.
Right.
So that's the kind of thinking that I'd like. So when you're doing your assessment here, in municipal street network assessment, and I see that you're just about completed, it's the planning and cost projections. Do you understand what I'm asking? I'd like some consideration to that, because I think it's
there's
warranted.
Yeah, no, and we certainly do. See, there are some streets that we are generally aware of around town that certainly weathered worse than other streets, that basically, if we were to go and reassess them tomorrow, would likely see them jump up or down, depending on your perspective, of the ranking list. But again, this is why I say we don't wait any longer than 5 years, and that's only, essentially, there's our 5-year capital planning concept that comes in. If we go reassess every single year, geez, the whole priority ranking thing is just going to keep fluctuating, and nobody, you know, everything is just going to keep changing. So we have to go stay to a path, a course,
Okay.
for a spell. Again, though, not to say that if we do have budget, as we do, if we have some money available because of our paving tenders and milling tenders coming in under budget, the ability to add some streets, it's not to say that we wouldn't consider adding a street that's perhaps not on our priority ranking system right now because of its poor condition from this past winter.
Right. I'd be interested to see how that list changes following, reassessment. Can you bear with me, just two quick questions, Mayor?
They better be quick.
They will be. How's street sweeping determined? Like how the frequency of street sweeping, how is that determined?
Usually it's just in the spring following winter of salt operations and that type of thing.
Okay. So it's put away for the season?
Not necessarily. If there are streets or whatever that, for whatever reason, during the course of a summer, fall, are getting quote-unquote dirty,
Okay.
we can address them.
Because I'm thinking of a couple of streets that have a lot of cars on them and they're parked, and then during the day, at some point, it's kind of free and it's dirty because it was never really swept.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The last question, and I want to thank you for this, is last council meeting, I asked you about the storm drain on the corner of Duke and Willow, and that street was repaved last fall, and it was low, and I got quite a few negative comments on that. And I want to just thank you that it's now on the list, and I'm doing this as a public announcement. It's now on the list to be raised up to
Yes.
a level which people can travel over it with confidence. They're not going to scrape the undercarriage of their vehicle.
I'll take it a step further as far as kudos are concerned. It was in fact, put in our service request system before I even got back down to the office, thanks to some of our staff watching council meetings.
Well, thank them for that. Thank you.
Impressive. Thank you, Deputy. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to follow up on comments and questions from my fellow councillors. First, to the Deputy Mayor's point, Mr. Browning, I believe I had asked you before to participate in a thought experiment with me. If there was no limit to capacity, no limit to the budget, if you could just magically, well, not so magically, but you had all of the resources available to pave the entire town for everything to bring us up to 100% good, what kind of number would we be looking at? What would the cost be? Because there's a lot of focus here on council lately on, oh, we need to pave the roads, we need to pave the roads, we need to pave the roads. And I'm like, where does it end? Like, how much would it actually take?
Well, for perspective, if you recall the presentation I referred to there with Deputy Mayor Thomas back a little over a year ago at Committee of the Whole, there was a slide and a number, and the number itself, or whatever, I do not recall off the top of my head. But there was a dollar value, an opinion of actual value of our streets, which was in the tens of millions of dollars, if not pushing hundreds of millions of dollars. That would be probably a decent rule of thumb for if we were to go and basically repave, rebuild, bring to new or whatever all of our streets in town. And we're talking about a little over 100 kilometers of street of what we have here at the town of Truro.
And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, not $10 on a Friday afternoon, certainly.
Yeah. Just because it is an interesting thing. We have talked a lot about you mentioned Mother Nature and how the winter hammered us, which is part of why certain projects went out to tender instead of being done in-house.
Yes.
I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here when we were talking about a regional transit study later, is that transit is going to help fight the congestion, give people an option to not be in their cars, which is going to help reduce the wear and tear on our town roads, which is going to extend their life, which means we'll have less maintenance, which means we might actually get those roads moved up. We might actually get up to maybe 70% good, maybe even 80% if we're being optimistic. Being able to address that. But I'm just curious about the number. I'll have to go back. I don't remember seeing that in that presentation, but I do believe I still have that. I'll go back and
Have a look. I'm pretty sure it was in there. I know it's in the memo to file that I put on that assessment that's in our file now. I'm just presuming that I would have conveyed that within the presentation. I'd have to look too, but I guess the further comment on we're talking about the public transit. It'd be the timing of when we would realize the less wear and tear on the streets with the less traffic congestion would be directly proportional to when and if a public transit can be developed, implemented, and executed at a level that is satisfying the user needs, so that and going above and beyond, perhaps, to encourage more and more to use it. You need to appreciate that there is the time from start of implementation to the learning curve to it building or whatever before we get there. It's not just instantaneous.
Well, 100% correct that in order to be useful, the transit system has to be properly invested in. Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, to follow up on Councillor Pryor's questions about the Brunswick Street bike lane, I've often had the same question, why that small piece? So I'm happy for that answer. Thank you. It does concern me, however, especially during Accessibility Awareness Week, that we would even suggest moving backwards in the active transportation plan and possibly removing mobility lanes.
Not necessarily suggesting we do that. Essentially, it was asked as to the circumstance of parking or lack thereof, and essentially, okay, well, if we're going to be addressing the circumstance of parking of a business or two or three along that street, not having the street side parking, well, unfortunately, the only solution would be is to remove the bike lane so that it is legal to do so. I'm not suggesting that we do that, but
good.
There's essentially there's trade-offs.
Well, I travel through that section fairly often on my bike, and I very rarely do I go through there where I don't have to go around a parked car.
Okay.
And I'm sure the chief would say, well, you just call it in, but for the amount of times that it happens, I think I'd spend all day on the phone and tied up in paperwork. So no, I don't have that kind of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that must have been what triggered us putting the no parking signs up. Is this another measure further or whatever to help prevent that?
Yeah.
To help Truro Police be able to enforce that?
Yeah, well, also from my perspective of seeing parked cars there frequently and knowing how much, I don't think there's room to have safe parking there, even if we did remove the bike lanes. I don't think the street is wide enough there. So unless we are looking at a capital project to widen Brunswick and only in that section, I don't know, it just seems a bit strange.
You'd have to look and see just what the real width is, because it's within, if you're within a certain width, essentially street side parking along one side is permitted, just not both sides. Until you get up to a certain width of a street, they can facilitate the street side parking on both sides. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly what the width of Brunswick Street, especially through that area, is, whether it is too narrow for street side parking on both sides, but it would be able, I think, to be able to accommodate street side parking along one side.
One side probably, but I don't
Yeah.
think, again, based on my personal experience, and I'm no engineer, but it does seem like that would not be feasible for both. Also, then what would we would have a bike lane on one side of the street and not the other? That seems
Right.
also somewhat silly and counterproductive. But I would caution again, you know, we've had an active transportation plan adopted by council before I was even elected back in spring of 2023 that has still not seen, to my knowledge, any amount of real funding, no real progress on installing any bike lanes. And it does concern me to hear a suggestion that of the possibility even of moving us backwards on that plan, even if
Well,
we're
that-
not moving us forward.
Yeah, well, that plan or whatever has been replaced with the new active transportation plan that was completed by Harborside Engineering in 2024 or 25. So the previous one of early was 2022, 2021 has been replaced.
In 2023, it was adopted by council. And then Harborside Engineering did their report in 2024. And this is now 2026.
Yes.
And years are flying by, and I'm seeing no progress, which is exactly the point. Thank you for helping me highlight that.
All it takes is time and money. We can do anything, man.
And again, we get back to my thought experiment, where how much does it cost? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Counselor. Counselor Pryor?
Yeah, I'd just like to address Councillor McGrath. I don't believe anyone was saying that we go backwards and take the bike lanes out. We were just inquiring about parking.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, we're going to move on to our Parks and Rec and Culture report, and I think you're doing double duty
I am
today,
going
Mr.
to, I'm
Dalton.
going to do that one, so hopefully I can do it justice. So this is the report for Parks, Recreation, and Culture for May 26. Staff attended the Atlantic Recreation Facilities Conference. Conference theme was Powering Possibility, Tools for Today's Recreation Facilities Leaders. The conference focused on fostering collaboration and sharing best practices and experience. Spring cleanup, seasonal maintenance, and sports field preparations are ongoing. Please note that weather response to unsightly areas and safe removal of drug paraphernalia may require staff to adjust operational priorities, which can result in temporary delays in regular maintenance and mowing activities. We appreciate residents' continued understanding and support. Due to provincial burning restrictions, we would like to remind residents that open fires, campfires, and smoking are not permitted in Victoria Park and all other town of Truro parks and green spaces. Unauthorized campsites and/or fires should be reported directly to the department. In the event of emergency, please call 911 immediately. As the summer sports season begins, our fields and green spaces are in high demand. We kindly remind the public that these areas are designated smoke-free zones. With respect to the stadium, Colchester Legion Stadium ice plant was shut off on May 16th following the last rental of the season, and ice removal process began shortly after that. With respect to the urban forest, the treatment for the hemlock woolly adelgid is ongoing. Currently, 5 hectares of lower park representing 188 trees were treated. The full treatment schedule is available on the town's website. Hazardous tree inspections for 26-27 have begun. Number 2, construction battalion athletic facility. The facility hosted the Nova Scotia school school sports track and field districts and regional competitions. This marked the first time in several years that Truro has been able to host these events, making it exciting to welcome competitions back to the community. Feedback on the facility has been overwhelmingly positive. An official grand opening will be scheduled soon, and the delay on the grand opening is simply to finish some of the markings that are required on the field for the sponsors. So again, that's ongoing. We hope to announce a date soon for the grand opening. Victoria Park. The Victoria Park pool is scheduled to open for private bookings at the end of June, and the first public swim will be July 1st. Registration for swimming lessons is open. The Rail Yard Mountain Bike Park now features a new asphalt pump track. The addition has been a tremendous asset to the park, further enhancing the user experience and growing the park's appeal for riders of all ages and skill levels. And there is an opening event planned for, I believe, the first mountain bike race, the, what do they call it? Short track. Short track, yes, that's the word I'm looking for, short track event that's scheduled. So again, that will be announced as well. Award tenders, the Community Recreation Open Space Plan tender was awarded to Trace. The scope of the plan is to create a comprehensive understanding of Truro's recreation system, needs and wants, to guide future decision-making, investment, and development. Programs and special events. The community drop-in program continues, and planning is underway for a full season of summer programs and special events. For a full list of the programs, please visit the town's website. Summer equipment loan program is now in operation. Equipment is available for pickup on a first-come, first-served basis each Thursday and Friday. To reserve adaptive equipment, please call the Douglas Street Recreation Center at 902-893-6078. The Town of Truro and Colchester Community Volunteer Awards took place on May 13th. The town's provincial volunteer representative is Dwayne Vidito, a valued volunteer member of the Colchester Food Network. In partnership with the Francophone Community Center, the town also hosted a semi-final event for the Art Love Tour. This event took place at the Rath Eathling Center on May 30th. The Truro stop had 10 competitive artists, and I understand that it went very well.
Yes.
So yeah, it was. I think
Darlene Waters from Ward 3, she
and over 100 people in attendance.
winning
I believe.
artist.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Looking ahead, based on the positive community feedback, the town will host the second annual Kickoff to Canada Day celebration on June 30th. The kickoff ensures families can enjoy local events on June 30th while also celebrating July 1st at the Bible Hill Rec Park. Other community events and or private and as well as other community events and or private gatherings. With respect to community recognitions, throughout May, the town of Truro recognized and celebrated several important community dates, including Gaelic Nova Scotia Month, Mental Health Week, the Red Dress Day, Rotary Week, VON Week, and Access Awareness Week for Nova Scotians, respectively submitted by Ashley Sims, Director, Parks, Recreation, and Culture. And if council has any questions, I will attempt to answer them, or I will pass them to Ms. Sims for further future response.
Good job. Good job. Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Dolter, on behalf of Ms. Sims, or vice versa. You asked about the pump track grand opening and timing with short track. Now, the short track series has already begun as of May 26th, which was last Tuesday, and they'll have another starting tomorrow evening. I assume we're not timing it with the start of that, but maybe with the finish of that?
Well, I think she's going to schedule it for one of those evenings just to get through to the association as well too. So again, we'll get back to council. We'll make sure that's advertised because I know there's other members of the public that might want to make their way out for the official opening.
Okay, thank you. And then just on behalf of Ms. Sims, and I guess she had mentioned before, but I'll mention again, that there is a magnetic timing strip embedded within the pump track and an app that people can use to time lapse. And I checked just before this meeting, and I still hold the #1 spot, which tells me that not enough people know about that timing app because that's just not right. So I just thought I would bring that up here. Thank you.
Thank you. I did not know that was there, so that's very good. And actually, I think we'll do some social media on that, just to let people know, just to push that a bit. I'll talk, either we'll do it ourselves or we'll get Parks and Recreation to do that as well.
I just wanted to follow up on, you mentioned about the volunteer awards, and it was a really special evening. I know Councillor Graham was there, Councillor McGrath, Councillor Pryor was there, and I believe Dwayne, who has been devoted to the Colchester Food Network, receiving that provincial award. I believe they gave him $10,000 that he gave back to the Food Network, so that was wonderful. So volunteers are the backbone of our community, and we need them. So it was a wonderful evening, certainly enjoyed by all. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just wondering about Colchester Legion Stadium. The ice is off, let's say. So what's the summer use on that? I'm sorry, I don't know that. Is it rollerblading, lacrosse? Or
there's a full lacrosse league that runs over the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, and it's open for, when not being used, it's open for other bookings, depending on what people want to do, floor hockey, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is
So
highly used.
call Parks and Rec if you want to rent it.
Yes, you could.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. I'm now going to call for a motion to accept all committee reports. Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Graham. All in favor of the reports presented today, please signify by saying aye. Contrary, no contrary-minded. All the reports are now approved and carried. Motion carried. Thank you. Now we're moving on to questions by members. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention. On the weekend, I attended the multicultural event at the Truro Elementary School, which was packed. What a wonderful event that was. The Malaria Drummers were there. Many people, if they've never heard of them before, they're amazing. Councillor Pryor was with me. It was a great event, and hats off to everyone who put that together. I also want to mention on the weekend, I spoke at the Alzheimer's Walk at Civic Square. Councillor McGrath carried the banner. Councillor Pryor was also there. Another great event, which is very personal to me. As many people know, my mother passed away of dementia, so it's a very personal thing, and it was a great turnout on a very cold day. Also, I wanted to say that we had a great event at the Nova Scotia Community College. 150 high school students attended the National Debating Conference there. I want to give a shout out to Gabriel Duguay, who organized this, and it was wonderful to go there. All these bright minds in the community and their families, and it generated a lot of excitement for the town, and everybody was just praising Truro. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful event. And finally, yesterday, I had the great honor of attending a Celebrate Life event, and I want to thank Norma Deal for that. You know, in this world of complete negativity, with keyboard warriors and so much negativity, to go and be able to ask to speak my story about cancer in my own family and in the community and how we can work together, to hear these women speak about their struggle and their positivity, I will tell you, it put everything into perspective for me, what is truly important. And hats off to those women. One of them happened to be a classmate of mine, and Councillor Fleming's, Jane McCormick, Jane Benvey, who gave her personal story, and the way they spoke, and the survivors, and people supporting people with cancer. So I just think it puts everything into perspective. And if some of this negativity, if they could listen to those women, it would be humbling. And I was humbled and frankly embarrassed for myself that sometimes you put too much credence in sometimes what people say on the internet or what they do. We have to put things into perspective, and yesterday was a very humbling experience for me, and hats off to Norma Deal and everyone who participated in that. It was beautiful. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to bring up for Council's reference, Monday night at the Planning Advisory Committee, we had some discussions, and I believe the the resident may actually be in the room, regarding mail-outs to tenants when we have development agreements. And this is something Mr. Fox and I did discuss briefly with regards to whether or not changes would be required to the MGA. After that meeting, we've since discussed a little bit further. We do not believe that there are changes required. It does seem like that this is something that we could do. Unfortunately, I have not had time to really follow up on that yet or get any information out to council through Mr. Fox. But I did want to bring that up here just for council's awareness, and respectfully, Madam Mayor, request if we could get Mr. Fox to put together some sort of cost-benefit analysis to council that we could bring at a future meeting for a motion regarding basically adding the actual property address, not just the owner address, so that when we have development agreements and such, when these notices go out, that they also get to the tenants as well.
Okay, you'd mentioned that to me in a discussion. Mr. Fox, did you want to jump in there? Do you have anything to say?
No, no. I'll wait for your direction.
Okay. So, Mr. Dolter,
So, yeah, we'll need a motion from council to
Yeah.
direct staff to produce the cost-benefit analysis.
okay. Councillor McGrath, are you prepared to put that motion on the table?
If that be required at this time, Madam Mayor, then yes, I would respectfully put a motion forward that council direct staff to provide a cost-benefit analysis on the updates to our mailing processes to include actual properties so that tenants are also advised of development agreement updates.
Okay. You're going to second the Councillor Graham. Any discussion on the motion? You've heard the motion, Council. All those in favor of supporting the motion proposed by Councillor McGrath, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Deputy, did you vote? You said aye? Okay. So I would think it's unanimous. That motion has been approved. Thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor. Okay. All right, we're now moving on to item 8 is new business. Item 8A is a request for decision to set a public hearing date for 448-450 Lower Truro Road for a development application agreement. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So development agreement by WM Fairs Architects on behalf of Andrew Rogers to permit 155-unit residential development consisting of 155 units of 3-story, 12-unit building, a 5-story 42-unit building, and a 10-story 95-unit building, and a 6-unit stacked townhouse with parking for 178 vehicles on lands at 15 Salter Avenue. That's PID number 202-42541, 110 Wynn Road, PID number 20440-293, 114 Wynn Road, PID number 20440-301, 448 Lower Truro Road, PID number 20240-255, 450 Lower Truro Road, PID number 202-40263. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is, be it resolved that council set a public hearing date for July 16th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the development agreement application by WM Fairs Architects on behalf of Andrew Rogers to permit a 155-unit residential building development on lands at the corner of Lower Truro Road and McClure's Mill Road as described in this staff report dated May 22nd, 2026. The date and time, Madam Mayor, alters from the request for decision. I think that went to council only on the basis that we thought, given the interest in this application, that it should be done at a time where more people could attend.
Right, thank you. Okay, I need a mover. Councillor McGrath, seconder? Anyone seconding this motion? Thank you, Councillor Fleming. So McGrath and Fleming. Now discussion. Councillor Graham.
I'd like to suggest that we amend the motion to suggest that it be held in on September 7th, which is the first meeting in the fall. And the reason being is because in light of the information that I came to understand today, that in fact a recommendation will not be coming from PAC to council, I think it's really important that citizens have the opportunity to be present for that hearing. And July is a really challenging month for many people to make it out. There's lots of things happening with graduations, and there's people away, and the summer itself just doesn't lend itself to well-attended meetings. So I would like to request that we reconsider the date of July 2nd to be September 7th instead.
Mr. Dolter?
Again, there's a motion on the floor, Madam Mayor, so again, I think there would be a requirement to vote on that date. And then if that were to be defeated, then an alternate motion could be put forward.
Okay, so we're going to move
Can
forward.
we not just amend the motion? What is the
We have to vote it down first.
You could amend it if the person making the motion would be agree to the amendment.
Then I would like to, whatever is more expedient is fine with me.
Madam Mayor, I think appropriate at this point, given the nature of this, is that the motion on the floor should be voted on.
Okay.
Because again, the amender may want to make that amendment, but the rest of council may not agree with that being changed.
Okay.
And then we're going to end up having to put the existing amendment back on the floor in order for that to be voted on.
So the motion was for the date to be July the 16th at 6:30 p.m.
No.
Council chambers. That was the motion that was proposed, the first motion.
Correct.
All those in favor of that motion?
Well, it was July 6th.
No,
Sorry,
it was 16th is the
16th.
date that it was.
Yeah, July 16th.
That's the motion that
Oh.
I read.
Yeah,
And that's why I said that
Okay,
it,
sorry.
yeah.
yeah, July 16th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Councilor McGrath? All those against the motion? Nay?
Nay.
Okay, so I've got 2 nays. Who is in favor of the motion for July 16th? Councilor McGrath? Councilor Pryor? Deputy Mayor? Okay, so 3, that motion is approved.
Did you vote?
I will vote to move forward for July 16th. Yeah. Oh, Councilor McGrath, you have a question?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do have a question. I wanted to clarify this before the vote, preferably because the motion I have in front of me is July 6th, which is the next
Correct,
council meeting.
correct, yeah, and that's why I
So
verbally.
we're looking at July 16th at
Yes.
6 p.m.?
Yes.
Not July
6:30.
6th.
Yeah,
6:30.
so the date, just to reaffirm, council just voted on July 16th, 2026 at 6:30 PM.
Yeah, okay. So
Thank you.
that has been approved, and that will be going forward for July 16th, 2026 at 6:30 PM here in council chambers. Okay, thank you, council. Item 8B, request for decision, encampment location and cleanup. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So approximately 3 weeks ago, it was brought to the town's attention that an encampment has been established on the town-owned land that fronts William Barnhill Drive and is immediately adjacent to lands of Millbrook First Nations. Staff from Truro Police, Engineering and Public Works and Planning and Development investigated this encampment on site. It was observed that there were makeshift tents and fire pits constructed on the property and an abundance of debris estimated to be spanning acres in area. It's noted that the constructed fire pits and related material pose a significant risk for forest fire. Miller Waste Systems was contacted to assist the town with the cleanup of this encampment. After visiting the site, they indicated they would be capable of assisting with the cleanup, but due to the nature of the condition of the site, they are not able to provide a lump sum price for the work, but can proceed on a time and material basis with the cleanup. At present, the renewal of the residential solid waste pickup contract with Miller Waste Systems has resulted in an annual cost of this contract to the town being approximately $75,000 under budget. A portion of these funds can cover the expense of the cleanup. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is, be it resolved that council approve utilizing up to $50,000 of the surplus residential solid waste contract budget amount to fund the necessary cleanup work of the encampment on town-owned land on an emergency basis.
Okay. First, I need a mover so we can get some discussion on this. Councillor McGrath, seconder. Councillor Fleming. Okay. So I want to jump in here. I find $50,000 very high. From, you know, it's high. It's a concern as well with those fire pits up there. I also want to say that I've been contacted on a regular basis by businesses that are, because of this encampment, that are being broken into. Staff are being harassed. It's really becoming problematic. And my main concern too is fire. I mean, it could really be a hazard up there. And it's not safe either for the people living there or for the community at whole. So, I mean, what are we looking at here? It's not going to go, do you think it's going to go to $50,000? Clean that up?
No, we reserved that amount. We tried to estimate high because the unfortunate part is until the company actually gets in there and is able to start moving material, we don't know how many layers of material they're actually dealing with. And we don't know if there's biohazards, if there's other things that are going on in there. So again, that's an estimate which we hope is on the high end. But again, we want to reserve an amount so council recognize that if it goes above, in the worst case scenario, if it goes above that, we'll come back to council again to approve additional monies.
Yeah.
This type of cleanup is very expensive. And it's a challenge in this area because there's no easy road access in to deal with this. So it's a bit of a special circumstance as well. Again, so it. And
Well, I've seen the
difficult
video
work.
and it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I happened to watch it with a business person who said, well, there's some of the stolen property right there. But it's concerning with the fire. It's concerning for people that live there as well. And for the people that are in the community. It's a concern all the way around. All right, I've got a couple of questions here. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No doubt $50,000 is a lot of money to be spending on this. However, I do think that council has no choice but to move ahead on the cleanup because of a lot of the things that you've said regarding the risk of fire especially. However, I wanted to ask Madam Mayor, do we have any updates on conversations with, the regional stakeholders in addressing homelessness? Because if we clean up this encampment and these people are moved, where are they going? Are we just moving the problem to somewhere else? We, have got to have the wraparound services to help these folks get out of the situation that they are in. We can't just be spending money, just shuffling them around constantly through, back and forth between town and county.
Yeah, when we do get the date established for this work to commence, we will, and we've already reached out to both the Truro shelter as well as some of the provincial authorities. Some of the individuals there are actually clients of both, so we'll let them know that on the day we go in that they either they can do some preliminary work or they can be in attendance when we actually go in to commence the cleanup action.
And I appreciate that question, Councillor, because I'm in regular contact with Connection Church as well. And as long as there's no drugs or alcohol going in there, no one has to be outside at night. So I do know that. This is a problem that I saw when I was with the province with tenancy, and there's no easy solution here. You have to have housing for people, and you have to have wraparound services. That's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. Without those wraparound services and on-site services, nothing's going to get any better. Some people, just because of mental health issues or whatever, don't have the capacity to look after themselves. They do not. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody on this panel here that is not compassionate. But we also have to be realistic as well and realize that we don't want to have a situation of fires that wipes a community out. And I have seen the video here, and it is not good. Trust me. And I've seen a lot of video over my years with tenancy, and this is not good. Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton, and I'd like to thank Councillor McGrath for, that was my main focus, was what we were going to do with the residents of the encampment. Do we have any idea how many are there? I haven't seen any video or,
Counselor, I heard there was up to 12.
Yeah, I think, I think the chief maybe have something to add there.
Yeah, I think probably 5 is what we've seen when we've been there.
okay, so that's not as bad. It's less people to have to look
Yeah.
after, I suppose,
Yeah.
to find spots for. My other question is in regards to the cost. I agree, the cost seems to be exorbitant, but without having been there myself, or even the people that are going to be tasked to do the work, it's hard to come up with a number, what it would cost. I'm just wondering if this is something that should be tendered out with different companies, or?
The challenge it gets into is it's fairly specialized work, which, and again, we have Miller Waste under contract now. So again, our assessment would be appropriate to work with them. We've used them to clean up other sites as well, some minor cleanups. So again, this is a little bit more major, but they have the background and the specialization in order to do this. And again, they are our contractor for solid waste, so
And-
it is appropriate for the most.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And the contract, was that last year's contract that was under budget? Wouldn't be moving forward?
Well, this is, this is,
25, 26, or 26?
so this is the current contract that we're under.
Just started, it's only 1 month in, it's hard to.
Well, yeah, so they're currently under contract for 26, 27 now.
Right.
So again, this is part of the
So,
current contract.
When you mentioned they're under,
Well, so
So
it's a tendered price they have for their pickup, right?
Right.
So we pay an annual cost for pickup.
Right.
So what they tendered is $75,000 under what we had budgeted.
oh,
So
Okay,
that's,
my
that's the,
mistake. Yeah,
so
I
that,
got
so
you.
yeah, we have a
Yep.
$75,000 surplus.
I thought it
if
was
you
part of their
will.
contract
No.
moving forward.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's
gotcha.
75,000 under the solid waste contract that we
Yep.
budgeted for. Sorry
Yeah,
if
thank
that
you.
wasn't clear.
That's okay.
Our community is not going through anything that most other communities aren't going through, but I want to say last week when I was contacted, there was 5 hypodermic needles left in an area where I was fairly concerned children could have got to them. I called Healthy Connections. Unfortunately, they were closed that evening. They did get back to me as soon as they were open. But I want to give a shout out to the Truro Police Service because within 10 minutes, those needles were taken away. And I don't think that we give enough credit sometimes to the officers and realize some of the situations they're dealing with right now. And within 10 minutes, the officer had called me back, the needles were taken care of. So that's peace of mind for me.
And Madam Mayor, too, I mean, I think hopefully everybody noted the fact in Ms. Sims' report, this is a big issue for Public Works, Public Works and for Parks, Recreation, and
Huge.
Culture. They spend a lot of time cleaning up, again, and we're very concerned, obviously, when it comes to the public, particularly with children,
Yeah.
that they could inadvertently get stuck with a sharp. So again, we're very conscious, and the staff are very diligent in trying to pick and survey these sites on a continuous basis. And even at Number 2 Construction Battalion Field, they've been picking up sharps.
Yes.
So again, it's an issue that we're going to continue to work on. But again, public need to be aware that if we're behind in some things, it's because we're doing
Yeah.
things that aren't necessarily within
right.
most of our job descriptions in order to deal with this issue. But again, we do have sympathy for the people that are being affected by this, and hopefully, in my discussions with the province, we can come to some solutions for dealing with some of the unhoused that are in these situations.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, and Mr. Dolter, I'll just add to that, because that's what I was going to say. Housing, people should know, and I think they do know, that housing is the responsibility of the province, but the problem is ours. It's our problem, it seems, but it's their responsibility. And I'm very encouraged to hear that the province is meeting with the CAOs from the various municipalities to discuss possible solutions. I think that's the first, being in this chair 6 years now, that's the first time I've heard of such a thing. And that encourages me. We'll have to see what happens out of it, but a start is better than nothing. So let's hope. But no doubt that any solution that comes will require municipal participation and encouragement, right? And we might have to give some land, we might have to do something, an incentive. But it seems our problem, their responsibility. So we're going to have to work with them. And I'm encouraged by that. So.
Thank you. And Mr. Dolter and I have met with members of the cabinet ministers about this issue in my office, Mr. Dolter, as you recall, and it's a top priority for us. Councillor Pryor?
Mr. Dolter, I'm just wondering if an encampment is set up on a private property, is the property owner responsible to have that cleaned up?
Yes,
To
they
the
would.
tune of $50,000?
If it got to this point, yes, that would be their responsibility. We don't go onto private property to deal with this. So if people do have an encampment on their property, they should be, and if they don't want the people there, they should be contacting Truro Police and sooner than later.
But
before
what
it
if you
becomes-
had a little bit of wood lot
Yeah.
behind your property and you didn't know anyone was there,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you found out? So,
It would be, it's a private property. It's not something the municipality would get involved in. It would be unfortunate, but that's how it would work.
so I guess the message is if you spot it, phone the police?
Well, yeah, if you don't, I assume most people don't want the people there, so they would have to call and they would be dealt with if they're trespassing.
Yes,
Great.
I've had two other
Thank you.
private owners have encampments set up on their property. I've been dealing with them as well. They've had to incur the expense of that, and they are, anyone on that property is trespassing. So it's, these things are happening. So council, that we've had a big discussion here, and we heard the motion. All those in favor of supporting the cleanup, please signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, that motion has been carried.
And Madam Mayor, we will report back to council once we get the final total. Hopefully, like I said, it doesn't come up to the point that we ask for authority
Can
to.
only hope. Item 8C, request for decision, grant request for the ground search and rescue. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Ground Search and Rescue Association submitted a grant application that was missed during our annual budget review process. I know Ms. Russell talked about our process on the grant submissions, and this is another one that did get missed, so we'll work to rectify that. So the application was provided in the council package for consideration. The organization is requesting operational funding for $11,500 to support its annual operations, while the town does not. That is available when required. In instances where the town engages search and rescue services, the town would be responsible for reimbursing direct costs such as fuel and food. So again, this would not remove us from the responsibility when using them to cover costs of search and rescue in supporting those activities. So staff have reviewed the application and determined that it meets the eligibility criteria for the municipal grant policy approved January 12, 2026. However, the policy does set a limit for the maximum grant contribution at $10,000 per organization per year, which limits the amount that can be approved. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is, be it resolved, the council approve the maximum $10,000 as per the municipal grant policy for Ground Search and Rescue Association for the 26-27 fiscal year.
Thank you. Looking for a motion. Councilor McGrath, seconder. Deputy Mayor. Discussion. Councilor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support the motion, especially all the good that Ground Search and Rescue do in the community and beyond. I just wanted to ask, as Mr. Dolter had alluded to, this was one that was missed in the initial municipal grant review. Ms. Russell mentioned as well in her report that there was another one that was missed. Are we doing any sort of review to make sure there are no others that have been missed? Have we undertaken that?
Yes, we've reviewed the files. We found these two when the organizations reached out to find out what the decisions were.
Okay.
That's what brought them to our attention. But we're confident this is it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I want to echo that the work this organization does, I have great respect for. Okay, the motion has been made. All those in favor of the motion that was moved by Councillor McGrath and seconded by Deputy Mayor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, unanimously approved, motion is carried. Thank you very much. Item 8D, request for decision, regional transit study. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the town of Truro and the municipality of the county of Colchester jointly commissioned a regional transportation study to assess the feasibility of introducing public transit in the region. The study evaluates community needs, service design, operating and governance models, financial considerations, broader social, economic, and environmental impacts, and outlines a process regarding next steps and a phased approach to implementation. The findings of the Regional Transportation Study were presented to Town Council at the Committee of the Whole meeting on May 21st, 2026. In that presentation, staff asked Council to consider next steps to be presented in the June 1st, 2026 public meeting. As outlined in the presentation, advancing the project would require intermunicipal coordination, dedicated staff resources, and long-term financial commitment. Council will need to consider alignment with municipal priorities and capacity within the existing tax base. If Council is in support, staff will, as a first step, undertake a review of the financial implications for the town of Truro and provide insight regarding potential impacts on the tax base and report back to Council with further analysis and recommendations. If Council would like to proceed after that point, the town would move forward with Phase 1 implementation as outlined in the Regional Transportation Study. So, from that, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is be it resolved the Council directs staff to undertake a review of financial implications of a potential transit service for the town of Truro, including impacts on the tax base, and report back to Council with findings and recommendations.
Thank you. Looking for a motion. Councillor McGrath, seconder. Councillor Pryor. Discussion. Deputy Mayor.
Excuse me, the only comment that I have in regards to this is just trying to understand usership. You know, the potential is that every bus will be full and crowded and will be delighted, and it'll work really well. It'll be a great success. The opposite is that there'll be 2 or 3 people on each bus, and that'll be the ridership. So, how do you determine what ridership might be? Because to me, that's part of you know, before I make the investment, I want to know if people are going to use it. So, is that going to be something that I mean, that's a difficult question, and I just want to know, is that something that you're just going to say, well, we'll find out, and we think, but there was some work done by the company in regards to...
Yeah.
So is there some understanding of that?
I think
haven't
Ms.
heard
Grant,
anything on that.
her light's on. I'll let her comment.
Yeah, so that was included as part of the study that Arcadis did. So what we would do is that they've done some analysis on those numbers. I think it was 8 to 10 riders per hour. So per bus, sorry. So we'd use those numbers informed the figures that are in the report. So when we look at the financial analysis, we'll be using the figures that are in the report at this point in time as our baseline for how that would impact the tax base.
Right, because I'd like to see the amount per rider, you know? Is it 50,000 per rider per year? You know, whatever that is, or is it, you know, 5,000? I'm not looking to make money on this. I just want to make a responsible decision.
Based on that
when it comes to
ridership, I think the
investment.
estimated revenue was 200,000 a year, I believe.
Yeah, the figure in the report says that the ridership fares would fund, I think, I don't have it right in front of me, but it was between 20 and 28%, I believe. So the remainder would be so it's subsidized at about 70%.
Yeah, that's not the question I had, Mr. Dolter. Mr. Dolter, the question that I had is in regards to the cost per person to establish it, and not only to establish it, because I think establishing it can probably be done for a reasonable amount. But there's establishment and then there's operational costs. And it's the ongoing operational costs that really need to be looked at and understood. Because, yeah, we can probably get funding from the federal government, provincial government, and our contribution could be somewhat minor relative to that, and it can work well. But then, you know, 3-4 years down the line, the cost of maintenance, the cost of...
So you're looking essentially the subsidy being provided per rider.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very well said, Mr.
Yes,
Dolter.
yeah, and I certainly think that's valuable information. Interesting, again, while at CAM, I had a chance to talk to the CAO from the town of Yarmouth. Yarmouth runs a public transit system. Now, they originally charged for it. Now it is actually a free service. They're actually buying bigger buses because their buses are so full. Again, obviously, it's a free ride, so that's not a big stretch. But again, I think depending on the community, and obviously Yarmouth is quite a bit smaller than Truro. Again, we don't know. I mean, exactly how many people will be successful in attracting, but I think we'll use the current estimates on ridership and come back to council as part of the analysis and say, here's what you're subsidizing per rider.
And don't anybody interpret my question as not supporting the project. I just want to make sure that I'm making responsible decisions, financial decisions for the town in regards to all the things that we're responsible for. And what are our priorities? You know, we have to get our priorities straight. There's things that we need to do, and there's things that we want to do. And we want to make sure that our priorities are correct. That's all.
And you're
You
gonna
must
have
agree
people
to
that are-
that, Madam Mayor.
Deputy, you're going to have people that are for it and people who are against it. And I've had a very vocal email just the other day, and let me tell you, this person was not for it. So, but you're going to have people that are for it and people are against it. But like with the Field of Dreams, if we build it, will they come? If
Right.
it goes through, you have to use it.
Right.
And that's just the way it goes. And once again, all in conjunction with Municipality of Colchester. So it's,
So we'll see the data, and we'll make an
that's right.
informed
This is the
decision.
first step today. This is the first step. So I want to be very clear. Mr. Dolter?
Thank you.
Say that with me, first
Well,
step.
yeah, no, it
All
certainly
right.
is the first step. Again, I mean, from a staff perspective, let's be very clear. We want council to have full information on this. This is a huge commitment.
Huge.
That, you know, and I would agree that it's a critical piece of it. Again, a lot of communities much smaller than us do have public transportation. But again, I think we have to go in with our eyes open and understand what it is we're committing to. Because again, it is a long-term commitment, and we hope to get it right if we are going to implement.
Thank you, Mr. Coulter.
Yeah. Councillor Fleming's been very patient with this light on there. Councillor
Yeah.
Fleming?
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. Public transportation is a priority for me. It'd take somebody we'd have to have a good conversation for me to dissuade me from my decision to fully support it. My concern is with these consultations we're having with the county is going to be the funding portion. Is it going to be 50-50? Or is it going to be like the rec center, or with the 2nd Battalion grounds in our ball field? Are we going to pay 90%? Where they pay 10? You know, 'cause
No,
they have
yeah,
the
yeah.
they have the bigger population.
Yeah.
I think it should be us pay 20, they pay 80. If every extra has to go in. I'm just.
And I think, I mean, the study, the assumption the study made is 50-50. Again, and I think, you know, that final negotiation on where that goes still hasn't been had.
Yeah, and I realize that. I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I hope that is going to be part of the
Yeah,
conversation.
I put it that we wouldn't be paying any more than 50%.
No.
So, you know,
Yeah.
we'll go with that.
Okay, thank you.
And I think another key component, Counselor, is too that, you know, people use the bus because they have to get to work on time and whatever. And, you know, no one's going to sit around and wait for a bus for an hour. It's got to be fast, efficient, and that's how it's going to be successful. Counselor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am going to be in support of the motion. I've been a proponent of public transit for quite some time because I've lived in places with public transit. I've often taken public transit. I've taken public transit while on vacation. I would even go so far as to poll the room to see if anybody in the room has even ever used public transit in anywhere that they've lived, if they've needed it to commute, if they used it on vacation, because I think the number would be very low. I count 2 that I know of in this room, for sure. When Deputy Mayor mentions the investment, it's a great word to use. It is an investment in our community. Generally speaking, when you look at public transit systems, every dollar invested in public transit returns more than that in benefit back to society. We've heard the Chamber of Commerce in here talking about the economic spin-offs, how the businesses are asking for public transit so they can get more users. There are folks out in Debert saying, I will move my working hours to accommodate a transit schedule in order to get workers if you will just get me workers. The benefit there, again, the economic spin-offs, people are going to be working, businesses are going to be more productive. There's a lot of benefit there. We also have to look at cost, not just the cost of the system, but if we don't implement this, we're looking at the cost of adding and maintaining parking and roads, plus citizens who are going to have to own and maintain private vehicles. There is an awful lot of cost to not having public transit. With regards to ridership, and Ms. Grant, I don't know if you have on hand the actual physical dimensions of the buses, or if we're way to it that's way too far away. But with those buses, I'm familiar with the relative size of those buses. They're a little bit longer than your average, say, pickup truck maybe, or SUV that's in use right now. So even if a bus has only 3 riders on it, that's still more more efficient than 3 people moving in private motor vehicles. That's less 3 people moving in less space than what it takes for 3 people in separate motor vehicles. So when we talk about addressing congestion, that's something that we're looking at. That's more people moved per hour in less space. And when we talk about affordability in town, especially around affordability of housing, this is something that would make a real and tangible difference in a lot of people's lives. This is people who no longer have to be spending $2 a liter on gasoline, who no longer having to do their maintenance on their cars. And it makes our town not only more economically viable, but it makes it more affordable for people to live in. In short, Madam Mayor, I don't think we can afford not to move forward with public transit, and I will support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Council, the motion has been made by Councillor McGrath. It's been seconded by Councillor Pryor. I'm now going to call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion's carried unanimously. Thank you so much. Well, this now brings us to the end of our public council agenda. I want to thank council staff, our CAO and our solicitor, and everyone joining us in public chambers today. Thank you very much. Our next public council meeting is going to be Monday, July the 6th at 1 p.m. Please continue to be kind to each other and be kind to our town. The Town of Truro Public Council meeting is adjourned today at 3:01 p.m. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.